Like, here's the wind coming. You're going this way, not this way. Now, there you go. Oh, yeah, almost ripped your own pants off. There you go. That's exactly right. Basically, you end up in a place to where you just hear, turn, and then it changes, and it's just a literally like a zigging and zagging and walking. But that's just one part of the exercise. But I wanted to kind of take you all through in the Tai Chi experience where, Sifu Chin would hand me a little booklet or something like that. And I would try reading it. I mean, I would read it, but I was just a country boy, to be honest with you. I didn't understand 1/10 of what it was trying to say. It took a long time for it to soak in. So the Tai Chi Chuan is built around 9 concepts. So if you listen to what I said, Tai Chi Chuan, which means that you're building your health into a martial art. Okay. Of those 9 concepts, I just wanted to focus on the first one this evening. So there's a little bit of conversation, and I'll tell you why here in just a moment. The first concept in the Tai Chi Chuan is what I usually refer to as the 3D coordination, as what it is asking you to do. And then I break this first concept down into 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph would be disorder and what they share. The second paragraph is movement and stillness. And then the third paragraph is releasing power. Okay. All 3 of those paragraphs are in this first concept that you're trying to work on. And you can work on the first concept for years. I mean, just trying to get that. So on order and what they share, the classics read, for example, all things that are separated will eventually unite. The 10,000 things become into one origin, and the origin can separate into 10,000 things. When I first read that, I was like, okay, I'm lost already. All right. Now, when you look at what that's trying to tell you, Carl Jung helped me a lot. He made a comment somewhere where I read it, and it said, all chaos exists under one cosmos, and for all the disorder, there's a secret order. Now, in that system, for example, the 10,000 things become one. You're watching me on your screen. The boys are standing here and the ladies standing here with me. And we are all moving together with the trees. We don't perceive the movement of the earth at 700 miles an hour or faster where we're at. Because everything's moving as one, we can't perceive the motion. But now if the North Pole or the Northern Hemisphere decided that it wanted to do a little bit of its own thing, and the below the equator wanted to do a little bit of its own thing, I promise you we would feel some problems, right? Right, yeah. So that's it, exactly, just like an earthquake, right? Where something says, no, I want to go this way, right? And all of a sudden you have disorder. But the one thing, whether things are accumulating and uniting into one, or whether or not they are one and separating into the 10,000 things, they all share an energy to go in either direction. Now, when it comes to you as an individual, what you'll find is that your 7 trillion cells, for example, are all specialized. Your lung cells are different than your heart cells. Your muscle cells are different than your blood cells, bone cells, et cetera, and so on. But since they're all in order and they all come together, you don't identify the 10,000 different cells or types of cells you have in your body. You just identify the one, me. Right? But sometimes disorder comes in because cancer cells are the ones that can't distinguish specialization. They just grow unspecialized and they destroy everything. That's why it's a disorder. So that's the first paragraph of the concept. is that understanding. And the reason that that's important is that whenever you're trying to understand Tai Chi Chuan, you almost have to backdrop. I used to call it, and I've said it to Ryan and Bader, you have to drop back to the 5,000 foot view, because the first thing they usually try to teach you is the conceptual, cultural reason that this is important. Because if it applies to the universe and it works in the universe or this world, it works on you. You might have the illusion that you can do things differently, but eventually you'll get smacked in the face that no, gravity works, boy, inside or out. Okay. So paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 is about stillness and movement. And basically what it says is that you have to learn to coordinate the upper and the lower. And that when you're moving the upper and lower, it should be the middle that propels it. When the middle takes control, the upper and lower has the greatest ability to be coordinated. Once that happens, then you will work on the 6 sides of coordination, which is upper and lower, front and back, inner and outer. We'll come back to that in a minute. When it's time to be still, you stand still and the situation calls for you to be still. You do it with an observation, peacefulness, and like a mountain. When it's time to move and the situation requires you to move, you move like a dragon or a tiger. Paragraph 2. Paragraph 3 is about releasing power. And it basically says that when you get ready to, and basically the spirit of Tai Chi Chuan is that when you get ready to release your power, your attack should be like a rushing river that no rock or tree could withstand. And when you decide to stop, everything should stop or halt effortlessly. Okay? Your attack should be like a surprise to your opponent that he could never anticipate, like lightning striking out of a dark sky, or like a gunshot that the people beside you would not even have a chance to cover their ears. That's paragraph 3 of the first concept. That's a lot of material. Now, a lot of times y'all are already working on this. So like when we're pushing hands, you're just trying to learn to sense and be coordinated, right? Because if I just use my arm, I get crushed, right? You have to learn to move it through your waist. There's a lot of examples that y'all are already doing, right? And then, and Ryan's been here where, you know, when you're first learning and he couldn't feel me coming. And it was part of my practice was to make sure that he couldn't sense me. And of course, the better he gets, the better I have to try to get. Okay. But that's where basically you're always trying to work. So the reason I wanted you to have some of that is that if you digest those words and try to chew on them, it makes a big difference. So now, like Sifu Chin used to do with me, we have to be able to physically interpret what it is that we just said, or it's just a bunch of philosophical mumbo jumbo. And we don't do trivia, right? Not here anyway. So we want to distinguish and learn how to get this coordination. One of the first ways I'd like for you to do this evening is I'd like for you to stand and put your feet about shoulder width, a little bit wider if you want. And I'm going to pose a question to you. What is the difference between weight shift and ground pressure? If you put your feet out and you go 50-50, all I want you to do is very lightly just move your arms back and forth. Just real lightly. Now, if you're doing it real lightly, what you'll find is that there's really no change. But now, if you swing your hands just a little bit more purposefully, you'll feel the pressure change underneath your feet. But if you're doing this the way I've asked you to and you're watching me, my center hasn't moved. I have not shifted my weight, slid my hips, anything. I've changed the pressure in my feet. Now, I don't have to swing my arms to do that. I can turn, left and right. But notice when I turn, I'm not shifting my weight. I'm still staying 50-50. And you can feel what I call the pinging of your feet. Right? And you watch me move. I don't shift my weight to do a cloud hand. All I want you to do is put your feet 50-50, stand right there in front of the camera there or wherever you're at. You can put the rope or stick between your legs to help you. But basically, if I'm standing here and the rope or sticks between my legs, I'm not moving off of it. Okay? My center line's right there. Staying right there, all I want you to do is use the pressure of your foot and push and go. Use the pressure to go. Not, oh, let me shift so I can get my, butt over here and then unload it, reload it. No, you don't need all that. That is what causes this part of cloud hand walking. All you have to do is get yourself there, keep yourself balanced and upright, pressure one foot, and go. So now that you have that, and you go, okay, I didn't. Now we're going to, it's not that shifting weight is inappropriate. It's that it's got a time and a place. Okay. So if you're doing cloud hands, just like we're doing swinging the arms, notice that when you swing it with purpose, the arm that's high, that's the foot that lights up or pings, right? Ping, ping, ping. You feel that? Right. Now, whenever you're doing cloud hands, I've always told you, your hand should turn. Now, what many students do is they'll do cloud hands and they do something like this, all right, or they'll do something and they're shifting their weight or they're leaning somehow. And all they're supposed to do is just turn their waist and let that hand go out. Now, that pressurized that foot. I didn't shift my weight into it. My weight is still in the center. But as soon as this goes out and I ping that foot, all I need to do at that point is just use the pressure just like you did before and go. Try it a few times. Okay. You can go off in one direction 3 or 4 times and then come back the other way. But notice that you're not stepping per se. You're literally keeping your weight where it is, twist the waist. When you feel the pressure of the foot, just off to the side you go. Now, why is that so important? What part? We went through this first concept. This is paragraph 2. When the upper and body are trying to move, it is the center, the middle that must propel it. Many of you, what you'll see, and Ryan's much better at this, and better, you have gotten better too, is that what's happened to a lot of you is that the one becomes the 10,000 things. Let me coordinate this hand with this foot, this one, blah, blah, blah. You have the 10,000 things going on instead of being the one. One, turn it and go. It's in the simplicity that we usually get lost. You're taking the concept and physically interpreting it instead of just trying to memorize a bunch of words. And what I wanted to do next was look at another version of pressure. I try to give you some of the mechanical examples, but when you look at, for example, holding the baby, and notice, here's the difference between weight shift and pressure. When I want my foot to go out, the further I want it to go out, I have to increase the pressure. Notice my center line hasn't moved. I'm still here. The further I want it to go out, I increase the pressure here. When this pressure is going out, then I use it and then I shift my weight. So it becomes settle, pressure, and then weight shift. What most people do in the beginning is they get, here and they go and move and they just slop their weight out. They don't pressurize themselves so that they can extend. Let's go through the fire set, because that's a great place to start looking at the pressure and the shifting. Okay. And it also gives you a real good time to start looking at the mobility of your waist, making sure that, because you don't have to step to move the lower body. The legs, fortunately, in the fire set, is pretty simple, right? There's not too many stances in it. But driving the legs forward and back still has to happen through the propulsion of your waist. Just a little turn here and there, okay? All right, so Ryan, let's do what we normally do. Yep, you're there. That works out pretty good. Now, Gene, are you comfortable there? You'll be following Ryan mostly. I'll be your mirror, so I'll lead the folks online. Okay. All right, so we're going to take our time. Not going to go purposely slow because it's about 25 after, but we're going to go slow enough. So let's take our time. Hands float. Exhale, settle down. And shift. Pressurize that right foot. Step out. Shift the weight just an inch. And then propel through the waist. Good. Then pressurize the left foot. Hold that center. Out. Reach up and out. Roll the hands. Good. And back. Hand float. Begin to press. All right, hold the moon and sit back. Turn. There you go. Open the sky. Step out. Shift an inch. Then start turning the waist with the shift. Up and out. Roll back. Hand float. And press. There we go. Sitting back. And out. Good. Sitting back. Gather the clouds. Good. Down and back. Okay. Really good.